back, everyone. It is Saturday, April 20th, which means Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, has been out on Netflix for over 24 hours now. So we definitely need to talk about it. But before we get into that, shout out to any new subscribers. And thank you guys for the continued support on the channel. And also, if you are new, don't forget to like and subscribe before you leave today if you enjoyed this video. Alright, so like I said, Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver is now out on Netflix. Part 1 has been on Netflix since December, so if you haven't seen Part 1 and you're interested in watching Part 2, you definitely have to watch Part 1 first because they go together. Part 2 picks up immediately from where Part 1 left off. They are a two-part thing. I wouldn't say that Part 2 is just a sequel to Part 1. They really are parts, like chapters. Think of it like chapters in a book. They're two parts of a whole. Before I give my thoughts on Part 2, I do think that my opinion of our full in-depth opinion about this universe and these two movies is not going to be 100% informed until the director's cuts come out, hopefully in August, is what Zack has been saying. And they do come out the same day. So we're not going to have to wait months between both director's cuts to come out, which is fantastic because since they are really like two chapters that just, you know, are two parts of a whole, it would be really nice to watch them like back to back. I do still want to get my thoughts on the PG-13 version, just like I did with Part 1, but I think we're going to have a more fair and complete assessment, obviously, when the director's cuts come out. And when they do come out, I'm going to be, you know, obviously talking about them. Part 2 is more interesting and satisfying and it pays off from, you know, things that we saw in the first movie. And I think it was more interesting and entertaining to watch as well. Like I said, I read the novelization for Part 1. There's a whole lot more going on in the first one. So I'm really looking forward to seeing it realized in the director's cuts. But this movie definitely, like Zack had been saying over the past couple weeks in interviews, pays off. You see these characters more rounded out, get more, you know, meat for them. Those were some of my favorite parts of the movie. It was 100% action-packed, which is what I expected based on the trailers and based on the fact that Zack kept saying this is the war movie. It definitely was. It was a full-on, just 90% action battle. There were some great fight sequences. In addition to the main, like, team of hero characters, you also get more Admiral Noble. And I think Ed Skrein, like I said on Twitter, is a menace. And I cannot wait to see him just unfiltered in the director's cuts because he is the irredeemable villain that you need in a movie like this. You cannot have a villain that is sympathetic, that you can relate to, which is what Ed Skrein had been saying in interviews that I've seen him in press and everything, is that he did not want this villain character. He's played villains before, and he always tried to bring a sense of humanity to them or something that you could connect with. Not for this guy. I think he definitely was able to accomplish that, even more so probably in the director's cuts, but I think he definitely pulls that off for Admiral Noble, a really great bad guy. What I was really looking forward to the most in this movie compared to the first one is getting backstories, getting some flashbacks for each character, and I think that whole sequence, without, you know, spoiling anything, there is a sequence in the movie where kind of each character, each person is going around the table sharing their why they fight story, why they chose to rebel against the Imperium, the Mother World. They all have a certain history that includes some kind of loss or sacrifice connected to the Mother World, or some kind of regret. And so I think that was probably my favorite sequence of the movie, when they're all sharing those stories and you get a glimpse into their past. Nemesis definitely, I think, is my favorite of the hero group. Well, Jimmy too, but we'll get more of him in the director's cuts, you know? And I'm really looking forward to that because he's just, something about him is so endearing and likable. But Nemesis, even since the marketing for the first movie, I could not wait to see her. And we really get to see her in action a lot more in this one, which I was just waiting for because she is amazing. A really interesting character. I love the story that they came up with for her and how her arms, cutting off her arms and connecting these ancestral artifacts connect to her and fuse with her blood and then give her the power to fight like her warrior ancestors did and yield these flaming, you know, swords. Absolutely. Just what a cool story for a character. I just love that. I think Duna Bay, I love the balance that she has playing Nemesis, and that she's a little bit more reserved. But I like that even when she does speak, or even in her demeanor, when she's not having dialogue, she's very just like calm and just, you know what I mean? She's here. She's just here. Not in a boring way. She's just like mellow. Even when she speaks, she just has this delivery about it that is just cool, calm, and collected. You know what I mean? But then when it's time to kick ass, she is just on it. You know what I mean? And so I love this balance, this duality that she had in playing the character. But she also has this elegant way of, you know, moving her swords, and just it's awesome. I love the whole thing. Is beautiful. Tarek is very interesting too. I want to know more about his world. Like I said, you get glimpses of each of them. I think General Titus is a great character, and Jaimin Hansu does a great job playing him, and to lead this team and lead the way in training the village to prepare for this battle against the Mother World, and helping them to believe in themselves. And like I said, I really like Jimmy a lot, and I can't wait to see more of him. He has his awesome moment in this movie. You're drawn to him. Not to mention Anthony Hopkins. I mean, how can you not be with him delivering his lines? It's a very cool combination, by the way. The final fight in the first one was pretty intense between Korra and Admiral Noble. And you're like, well, now that the second one's the war movie, you kind of have to step it up even more. He's going to be vengeful, right? Because spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the first one, Korra basically kills him at the end of the first one. She's not expecting to see him show up in the second one, right? But he's coming for revenge. He knows that he's supposed to take her to her adoptive father. So he basically is just like laser focused on that. But their final fight scene in this one, I think they definitely stepped it up from the first, compared to the first one was intense, no doubt. They stepped it up from this one. If you're confused about how he's in the second one, if Korra killed him in the first one, well, you'll see they have this technology, and you'll see. They obviously address that. Final fight scene between Korra and Noble in this one, I need to see the director's cut to get the full-on thing, but it was definitely intense, and you're just wondering, like, how is this gonna end because of everything that's happening while they're fighting. And if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. I'll give it like a few days, a week or whatever, and I'll start talking about spoilers, but it's a pretty wild fight scene. As far as the ending goes, which I'm not going to spoil, it addresses something that I think if you read the novelization and also saw addressed in this one for Korra, talked about her history as being Princess Issa's bodyguard. It was shocking. At the end of this movie, they address it because it feels like there should be more to it. And indeed there is. And it seems like at the end of this movie, you get that. Oh, there is more to this crazy thing that happened with Korra. That's where a third movie would lead. If you saw my recent video about Zack and Netflix, he did say that they are pushing him to make more Rebel Moon things. And they have known for quite a while where a third movie would go as far as story. So they already know where they would go with that. Overall, I enjoyed it. I am not 100% pleased with the way Netflix decided to roll out the director's cuts so far behind the PG-13 version. Now, Zack is very grateful that they are allowing him to just go untethered with the director's cuts, and that they even wanted to do that. It was their idea. So I commend them for that, and I do appreciate that as well, because it's always been the opposite in the past. They want to have, you know, a younger audience that can enjoy it as well as a more mature audience. So I get that. I totally understand that. I really do. Like, if you're going to put out those two different versions, it would have been so much better and more satisfying to put them out at the same time. Like, the PG-13 version and the R-rated version of part 1 come out like at least close together if you can't do it at the same time. PG-13 part 2 and rated R part 2 come out around the same time, close together or at the same time. You know what I mean? That way you can choose which one you want to watch. Which those of us who follow Zack's work know that we want to watch the director's cut. But then for people that are like just grabbing like a general audience member who doesn't really know anything about the universe, and they see the PG-13 version one, they're like, oh, there's also another one, a director's cut one. I want to watch that one too. I feel like at least releasing them close together or at the same time would have been more satisfying. I'm going to be excited for them when they do come out. And I'm going to read part 2 of the novelization when it's ready as well. Well, I am happy for Zack and Deborah and their team, and that they have been able to have this very positive, you know, fulfilling experience. And I want to see them, you know, do more, and I'm going to support it 100%. Cannot wait for the director's cut. That's how I feel, because you do want more. I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't see that as a bad thing at all. But if you did watch part 2 already, leave your thoughts below and what you are hoping to see in the director's cuts. Thank you guys so much for the support on the channel. Don't forget to check out any things you might have missed recently, and the link in the description for my Hive marketplace. The next video is going to be about some bombshells that Zack dropped during some recent press for Rebel Moon. I wanted to get this review out first since the movie just came out, but you know, stay tuned for that video because there's some pretty shocking bombshells that he dropped that I definitely want to share. So hit the notification bell so you can be aware when I do drop another video. Don't forget to check out the short section, hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you're new, and if you enjoyed this video, yeah, see you guys soon.